Saturday in the Big 12 was insane. I love some of you. Others will be relegated to the Pac-12. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. From the Vampire Cougs to the Utah Utes, we are going to get into every game from Saturday in Big 12 conference play off the top of the show. Middle segment. Some of you, Kansas, TCU, Baylor, are going to the Pac-12. We're done. You've been kicked out of the Big 12. I'll explain more. And then we end the show with Colorado being a dangerous team in the Big 12. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Off the riff, it's the game that I stayed up till 2 a.m. Eastern time for. BYU over Kansas State, 38-9. Buddy, I still don't love the BYU offense. Maybe it's just like the syndrome that I have where I still can't trust A-Rod. I keep like, oh, good game. A-Rod, I love you. I can't. But the defense and Jay Hill, how do we give Jay Hill like the Lifetime Achievement Award? You know how randomly like the president will come out sometimes and just hand somebody an award? They're like, oh, what? And then, you know, the ceremony, they put it on, like, that's Jay Hill for me, for just having an NFL defense in Provo, Utah, and somehow getting away with it. I don't. What you have to understand about this game is that in 2 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the second quarter, BYU's down 6-0. Then 6.5 minutes of gameplay later, 6.5 minutes of gameplay, field goal, scoop and score. Jake Retzlaff, 90-yard punt return touchdown from Parker Kingston. 6.5 minutes go by. Oh, and now it's 31-6. Blow it wide open, blow the doors off. BYU, stunning. Only problem with this one, now you have to be good. Ooh, if you're going to beat, it's like Santa Claus with Tim Allen. If you're going to kill Santa Claus, you got to become Santa Claus. If you're going to win a big game in the Big 12, you're going to upset a top 15 team. We need top 15 teams. Those are helpful for the Big 12 conference. So if that's your whole thing is like, oh, you know, we're going to go in and upset a top 15 team, you're going to have to, like, no imposter syndrome. You have to win now. Who's going to fill their shoes? Has to be you. 38-9's absurd. Kansas State, find some receivers that can catch the ball, please. Avery Johnson was shaking in his boots, just peed on himself, and then threw up into the pee. It's just a pee throw up hodgepodge. LES is the best atmosphere in the Big 12. Okay, how would anyone disagree at this point? Utah over Oklahoma State. We let them get away with it again. They're playing Zach Wilson's younger brother, who was terrible in week 1. And honestly, he wasn't great against Oklahoma State, but my God, he did enough. And that beautiful boy won the game. And it didn't look bad. It's just like, he's not going to ever push the needle for me. He's not Cam Rising. But what Utah did without Cam Rising, I said, oh, Utah without Cam Rising is not a Big 12 contender. I lied. They just beat Oklahoma State on the road 22-19. Mike Gundy is going to Mike Gundy. This Oklahoma State team might not lose again. They could win the national championship. And you point at this game and go, oh, that was Mike Gundy. Alan Bowman. How? You've had so many years of college football to become good. Oklahoma State, 15 carries, 48 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. Oh, well, maybe Utah didn't run the football well. Micah Bernard, 25 carries, 182 yards. Utah ran the ball for 250 yards total. Oh, this is just, they threw for 207, ran for 250. Why did you exist like this, Oklahoma State? And for Utah, oh my gosh, your defense is the best in the Big 12. It's absurd. I just love watching the Utah defense. Oh, that guy got hurt. And next man up. Oh, that guy got hurt. Yeah, next man up. And offensively, Utah's like, hey, bud, we only scored 22 points. That's not insane. We're just not going to let you do any of the scoring. First 3 quarters, Oklahoma State had 3 points. Then at the end, I was like, oh, whoa, wait a second. And then when Utah needed points in the fourth quarter, they did them. They did points. 22-19. Utah's elite. Elite, man. Oklahoma State's pretty darn good, too. Don't count them out yet. Iowa State, 52-7. This was a sexy pick for me. But the Arkansas State spread, plus 21.5, because they have a great quarterback. Iowa State's just like that, dude. Rocco back. Good. Didn't have to be. Only threw the ball 18 times. This Iowa State team is just, they're a juggernaut, dude. I love watching them. It's so tactical. Cincinnati over Houston. I'm going to talk more about this game in the middle segment because Houston just doesn't deserve to play football the rest of the season. And Cincinnati is sneaky good. That Pitt game, had you won that Pitt game, this would be a very different rhetoric. West Virginia, Kansas. This was a battle of who do we send to the Pac-12. And so much, I want to talk about it more in depth, but so many times I was just watching this like, is this football? What happened to the game that I love? What happened to it? Congrats, West Virginia, on closing it out. Good job. 32-28. Jalen Daniels just can't throw the football at all, and that's not a good thing for him. Arizona State, Texas Tech. I'm just excited, man. I was just excited to watch this game. Sam Levitt, I get it. He's not perfect. Cam Scattaboo catching the football, though. Like, the fact that we kind of figured out the whole, like, hey, let's just have Levitt throw it to Scattaboo. Yeah. Scattaboo's good, man. 2 touchdowns on the ground is also great. Sam Levitt, again, doesn't move the needle. Not great. Baron Morton doesn't either. But I feel like both those guys just kind of do enough to keep their team in it. I didn't hate this for Arizona State. You're going to lose. That's how you lose. If you're Texas Tech, some are saying you're back. What if you're back? What if Texas Tech goes 11-1? You look like a football team. And that's new. SMU TCU, 66-42. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this in the middle segment. Why would you hire a guy named Bryles? Josh Hoover's very good at football. Too bad your defense imploded. And your offensive coordinator hates your defense. I can't. The middle segment's reserved for all of you that just crapped all over yourself, which is so many of you. It's just like, God bless, man. You stay up till 2 to record a podcast. You just want to talk about some wins. You just want to talk about a team that went on the road and beat SMU. BYU did it. They held them to 15. You allowed them to score 66. We'll talk about it. Baylor, Colorado. Coaching malpractice. The Baylor coaching staff deserves to be fired into the sun. Yes, I know they'll disintegrate, but that's the price that you must pay after the 38-31 loss where you allowed 2 successful Hail Marys and just the play. Like, what? I play Madden. I played NCAA. Just run prevent against the Hail Mary. Run prevent. Dave Aranda's like, no, stack the box. So we're sending 9 of our men. Let Shadur Sanders die. We're going to sack him again for the 9th time. No. He's going to throw the ball to the end zone. Hail Mary. Done. I don't even like Jake Spavital, the offensive coordinator, that much either. Okay? Being honest with you. Coming up, Baylor's going to the Shadow Realm. And we're also going to talk at the end of the show about how Colorado might be the best team in America. That's hyperbolic. But I do like Colorado. And you probably should too. On Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. I took a 5 Hour Energy last night because I had to stay up until 3 a.m. watching BYU and Kansas State. Thanks to 5 Hour Energy, though, I was stayed alert the entire time and was able to get up and make my 7 o'clock flight. 0 sugar, convenient, portable size, perfect pick-me-up. They have flavors like grape, watermelon, tropical burst, berry, and more. Try them all right now with a 12 or 24-pack of Build Your Own that's at their website. Go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5, hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today. Use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. That is 5hourenergy.com. Whether you're watching the big game, you got to tackle a to-do list, or you're on a road trip, 5 Hour Energy has you and me covered, especially with those late-night Big 12 football games. That's 5hourenergy.com. Visit them today. I regret that I am the one who has to inform many of you that you'll be relegated to the new Pac-12. That is right. The Big 12 is shaving the fat. A couple of you are being sent down to the minor leagues. It's the old farm system for you guys. It's low-hanging fruit to start with Houston. It'd be more fun to start with TCU or Baylor or Kansas and talk about why you can no longer play in the Big 12. But, Houston. Reminds me a lot of, and I think Willie Fritz is a good coach. It reminds me a lot of when Matt Rule went 1-11 his first year at Baylor, and a couple of years later they were great. Well, the only problem is that Matt Rule got there in the middle of one of the worst scandals in the history of college football. And the only scandal that has ridden Houston football is Houston football. That's it. It's just like what you've been cursed with is just being Houston football. 34-0, you lost to Cincinnati. There was no sign of life. There was no sign of life. I watched this game and I was like, oh, cool. Maybe Donovan Smith could do something. And I started thinking, oh, man, I could really root for him, or maybe the defense. No. This was pitiful. I want to see some inkling, especially after last week, some inkling of competition against a team in Cincinnati that I went back and forth on. I went back and forth in this game. Houston only went back. Cincinnati only went forth. Are the Bearcats good? Many are asking. That's as in-depth as I want to get on Houston football. Oh, TCU. Let's go you next. We'll spare you, Kansas. You sit where you are, and Baylor will get to you, too. TCU, this was one of my locks of the week. I love the Frogs on the road against SMU. The mayor of Dallas comes out in that TCU sucks shirt. Mayor of Fort Worth is like, oh, I got one better. Your head coach, Sonny Dykes. Your head coach, Sonny Dykes, who was the head coach at TCU, showed his bottom, was kicked out of this game, and is like blowing kisses and waving at people as he walks out. This was an absolute dumpster fire of a performance. The SMU crowd's not intimidating. Heck, there were probably as many TCU fans there. This isn't a real rivalry. TCU's biggest rival is Baylor. Baylor's biggest rival is TCU. SMU is kind of stuck in the middle, not having a rival because they've been irrelevant. And now, as they join the ACC, team that lost at home, they lost at home to BYU and only scored 15 points. You handed them a whopping 66 points. Josh Hoover's very good at football. It's weird to question the TCU offense when they put up 42 and the defense allowed 66. But I keep going back to this, and I've said this a lot. People, non-ball knowers, will look at that and immediately go, oh, well, the defense sucks. Yeah, the TCU defense is not very good. Might I say, though, there are so many times where Kendall Briles, the guy with the last name Briles, has me scratching my head. I remove my skull and I just wiggle my brain a little bit, thinking, why was the TCU offense only on the field for 17 seconds? Why can't they establish the run game at all? 32 carries for 65 yards. So at some point you go, well, shoot, guess we got to throw the football 46 times in this game. There's a good receiving core, a good quarterback, too. You put your defense in terrible spots constantly. Oh, hello there, defense. Would you like a break? Sorry, you got to go back on the field because our offense went 3 and out. And look, the downfall here for Sonny Dykes is the day. He goes to the national championship. In his first year, he goes to the college football playoff and wins a game. And then he has this genius idea. I'm going to hire a guy with the last name Briles. I'm going to hire Art Briles' son. And we're going to take a picture of him with his family on a plane, and nobody's going to remember that he was in the middle of one of the worst scandals in college football history. Yeah, so what? His last name's Briles. He's a good offensive coordinator. No, he wasn't even that good at Arkansas. TCU said, yeah, we'll stick our neck out for the Briles guy. Anybody? Bueller? Are we like Jeremiah Donati at this point? Be like, hey, Sonny Dykes, you have won here, actually been to a national championship game. What if we just, didn't have that one guy as our offensive coordinator? That's a conversation that probably can be had, probably should be had. And then while we're at it, let's fire the DC, the special teams guy, Kaz Kazadi, and maybe Sonny Dykes too. He's officially on the chopping block. Greatest season in school history. No doubt. You went to the Natty. Oh, that was awesome. And now that's what you do? 66-42 to SMU. You get embarrassed by SMU? This isn't even a good SMU team. They lost 18-15 to BYU. Their offense was incompetent. You gave them 66 points. Kansas. I don't know, man. I don't know. Because, you could be like, oh, well, let's blame Jeff Grimes. And then there's Z, who's the other offensive guy. I don't even know. How do you pronounce his last name? Everybody keeps referring to him as Z. And what I will give a little bit of leeway here to the OCs, the many OCs that Kansas has, apparently. They don't have the ball in their hands Jalen Daniels does, and he's just not good. In the past, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Pre-injury, for sure. Jason Beam was great, too. Andy Kotelnicki, great. This version of Jalen Daniels is dog water. I haven't used that phrase since I was in a fraternity in college. It was one of my favorites at one point in time. That is completely warranted here. Dog water is warranted. 15 for 25, 184 yards. And in a game where you're up double digits, just go win. Hey, keep the ball a little bit. Hold on to it offensively. Nope. No. Instead, Jalen Daniels threw one of the worst interceptions that I've seen. Just kind of lob it to the opposing team. Garrett Green on the other side, 15 for 30. That's not very good. But on the ground, that hoss was a moving 87 rushing yards, a touchdown as well. Those 295 yards through the air is a 10-yard average. That's good. His 2 interceptions were also not great. They just looked like 2 not very competent. This just wasn't a football game. I kept being like, God bless, man. Can any of this please look good, remotely good? And it didn't. Kansas, TCU, and Houston are moving to the Pac-12. I don't know, man. 1-3 Kansas. Well, Lance Leipold, has he ruined his shot at being the coach at Florida? Or is that just what he's looking for? Just to get out of town at the end of this year? This is a complete 180 from where I thought the Jayhawks would be. The Baylor Bears. When I worked at ESPN Central Texas, we had a commercial that would come on, and the guy would say, the Baylor Bears. Just like that every time. The Baylor Bears going to Folsom Field in Colorado and win the game. Isaiah Hankins kicks a field goal. It's good. 10-point lead. Bears kind of coast from there. Colorado drives. Like a 50-yard Hail Mary they attempted to make it a 3-point game. Of course, that was incomplete because Hail Marys usually are. Oh, no, wait a second. That's what should have happened, or very well could have happened. But instead, you have 1st and 10 at the 26 of Colorado. You don't move the ball at all. Then you kick a field goal and you miss it. And then Colorado has not one, but two successful Hail Marys. First one, the kid just dropped, like in your chest. The second one, it's like a real life Hail Mary, tied the game, overtime, Colorado wins. Dave Aranda will get fired. I can't help that. I was asking for this 7 months ago. 8 months. I was begging Mac Rhodes, the athletic director. And I'm honestly, at this point, I'm less mad at Dave Aranda as I am Mac Rhodes. You're the AD who said, yeah, I trust 3-9 guy. Come on. He's got a good recruiting class in 2026. Sure, those kids are 17. Come on, we'll give them a chance. Yeah. That's who I hold the, what is it? What's the phrase? Like hold them to the fire? That's who I hold to the fire, is the athletic director who said, sure, yeah, we can do this. Chris Pesman just got fired at Houston. Like, sometimes we make decisions about ADs. I was around that athletic department, and there are some skeletons in that closet. Baylor, you're going to the Pac-12. Baylor, TCU. This was your dream 3 years ago to go to the Pac-12. You can. Kansas, there's some good basketball there. Oregon State, Boise State. Houston, the Pac-12 didn't want you. You're going to be independent for a while, bud. Sorry. Nothing I can do. I don't make the rules. I just talk into a microphone. Coming up, Colorado's good. On Locked On Big 12. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is where I go on a day like today. Happy Sunday, everybody. And I say, I want to bet on a football team to win. And FanDuel lets me do it. It's also where I went and said, hey, FanDuel, I think that I really do think that in this college football game between Cincinnati and Houston will find a way to get it done. They didn't. Not even close. It's America's #1 sports book. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. Get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account, current form of payment, cancel any time. Visit FanDuel.com. Download America's #1 sports book. That is FanDuel.com. Visit it today. Colorado fans, I owe you an apology. Now, do I think that Colorado, Deion Sanders, the Buffs have everything put together? No. Do I think that this is a completely review? I used the word culture on last week's show, and a lot of that doesn't have to do with the chippy showboating. I mean, I watched this game in Colorado, like the one dude throws a punch, and another guy. I don't care about that. I care more about the off the field, random tabloid stories that come out and, Deion Sanders said this and did this and was bad to this kid. And you know what? Honestly, I think a lot of you in the comment section were right. Those are cool tabloid stories. I wasn't there. I don't know. I don't have boots on the ground. And this is the kind of game that takes ultimate discipline to win. If you are undisciplined, if you have a rotten culture, if you do not have winning as the number one focus, you lose a game like this. And did Colorado deserve to win the game? Maybe not, but they did. They went and they won it. You're like, oh, of course they deserve to win the game. They won. Yeah, but they threw a Hail Mary. You know how many successful Hail Marys there are in college football? That's like one a year where the Buffalo Wild Wings guy presses the button. This was a miracle win for Colorado. But to get to that miracle, you got to stay in it. There was a point where I really believed the Buffs were done. Like you were looking at a 24-10 lead for the Bears in the second quarter, and it's like, I'm not sure if Colorado has the chops to stay in this. Not only did they, but they proved that they have two of the best players in the country. And Shedeur Sanders, what I would love to know, and man, I really do believe Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders are both good kids. So much hate constantly over Shedeur Sanders. I don't get it. Wear a watch. Chirp. Personally, I would like the head coach to shake the other coach's hand after the game because we do that. Like we're all kind of human people, and that's just like a common courtesy. Or the quarterbacks to shake hands after the game. Like, yeah, you trash talked pregame because that's what people do in college football. Postgame, shake the guy's hand. Who cares? That's a moot point. That issue, I'm still like, okay, grow up. Shake the guy's hand. Who gives a rip? Shedeur Sanders, if he had a competent offensive line, I mean, just an okay offensive line, how good could this Colorado team really be? It was absurd. 12 tackles for loss, 8 sacks from the Baylor defense. Every time that guy got the ball from the center, it was just breakdown. And it's not that, if you watch this game, he had a couple seconds to operate, but the Baylor secondary is pretty good. He needed his D-line, his O-line, to keep the D-line in check for just a little bit longer than usual. And the O-line said, no, we would rather not. Now, Shedeur, 19 carries for 26 yards doesn't tell the story because in college football, when you take a sack, it takes away from your rushing yardage, and he took 8 sacks. Colorado's still 42 rushes, 42 carries, 91 yards, not going to get it done. That's not, no. You've got to establish the run. 2.2 yards per carry is not going to get it done. But the 341 yards through the air, taking advantage of a Baylor defense that was on the field a ton in the second half, was great. And Travis Hunter, again, man, 7 receptions for 130 yards. 7 receptions for 130 yards. Then on defense, an absolute, he makes the play of the game. He forces the Baylor running back to fumble at the very end and gives it up. That's good. That's the makings, and the Colorado defense holding the Baylor quarterback to 11 for 21. As somebody who graduated from Baylor, you knew that, right? Can I request that the Bears have just one quarterback that can throw the ball? I really like Sawyer Robertson, man. I really do. And I think DeQuan Finn's probably a great kid too. But at some point, like the analyst in me, the analyst who is separate from Baylor and is just watching college football, 11 for 21? Oh, no. Hey, look, couple touchdown passes that were dimes, gems. Sawyer Robertson's every third pass, fourth pass. You're like, yeah. It's the other ones that aren't very good. 11 completions the whole game. And you really didn't establish the run game that well. 4 yards per carry, 41 carries to get to 166 yards. Robertson, your leading rusher, 82 yards on 9 carries. Dude's a stud. Dude's a stud on the ground. Can he throw the ball? Not that well. He hasn't shown it yet. Stud on the ground. Behind him, Dominic Richardson, Bryson Washington. Meh. Not great. Richard Reese. Remember that guy? First team all-freshman Big 12 or whatever they call that award. Dawson Pendergrass. You have 4 running backs that you go to. And Richard Reese was supposed to be the guy. And it's like, oh, Jeff Grimes ruined him. Did Jake Spavital also ruin him? Baylor's leading receiver, 2 receptions, 43 yards. Like, where's the dog? Where's the dude? And in part, for the Bears to have 31 points, the special teams breakdowns for Colorado, the penalties for Colorado, the penalties for Baylor, too. This was a sloppy football game. And I'm going to go back to what I said last week. I thought Deion Sanders was kind of coaching for his job. He wouldn't have gotten fired after this. But if you lose to Baylor, it's like, okay. All right, you lost to the 3-9 Bears from last year. We got to do something here, man. You got to start winning games. For Dave Aranda, that's it. See ya. Smell ya. That's a nail in the coffin. Like, and for Mac Rhodes, somebody at some point in that athletic department, in that athletic department has to stand up and say, hey, you're the one that wanted the 3-9 guy back. You're the one that saw something. And now this? Oh, wow. Hail Mary situation. Colorado kid dropped a wide open one. Thank God. We're not going to let that happen again, are we? Yeah? We're going to send 5. And let's put all 5 of them on one side. So then Shedeur Sanders can roll out, have plenty of time, throw it to the end zone, and there's a falling wide receiver. A falling wide receiver in kind of double coverage. There are 2 Baylor players in the vicinity who's just going to lean back and catch that sucker. Touchdown, Buffs. How? What gross incompetence. You as a defense, like Dave Aranda's calling the defense. And I was like, yeah, I got a plan. I have concepts of a plan. I'm going to tweet that. I have concepts of a plan is what Dave Aranda went with at the end of that game. Your offensive coordinator, Jake Spavital, like the touchdown drives were good. That goes on without saying, but there was so much bad. 3 and out, 4 and out, and punt. And here, Colorado, have the ball. We're just going to give you guys the ball. You can have it. Colorado's defense impressed me. Colorado's grit impressed me. Colorado's ability to win a close game against a Baylor team that wants you to think it's the most disciplined team in the country. You doing that went a long way in my book, and I now believe the Buffs are a player. They're a dangerous player in the Big 12. They could be a top half of the Big 12, top half team in the Big 12. You go on the road to UCF, that's hard. But if you win that one, facing Kansas State at home, and we just saw the holes that Kansas State may have. Many are saying the Buffs might be in business. Could be you. Coming up tomorrow, I'm going to do the Locked On Big 12 Power Rankings. And they are going to be something. Oh, man, I'm kind of excited about that. I am. I do get excited for those shows. I put a lot of preparation in this stuff sometimes. All the, clickbait. You don't know what you're talking about. It's all talk. I'm just here to do my job. I'm just here to talk about Big 12 sports. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Give you your power rankings and more. I'm probably going to this is me talking to you as friends. I'm going to upload the power rankings as their own 10-minute video. And then past that, I'm going to a concert tomorrow night. So I'm kind of like double recording a little bit. So the power rankings will go out and the rest of that show will drop on Tuesday. I'm not going to sleep in the next 72. I already haven't slept in a long. We just did with the Savannah Bananas. We played Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, home of the Phillies, 45,000 folks. And then I watched the BYU and Kansas State game. I was like, oh, I haven't slept ever. And then I have an early flight and you know how it goes. But I'm 23. I'm drinking 5-hour energy, so I'm going to be okay. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.